Today is Tuesday, May 19th. We have an agenda. I'm about to take the roll. Director Bill Fribel.
Here.
Director Bob Lux here. Director Donna McAleer.
Here.
Director Paul Shue.
Here.
Director Dale Walker.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. We can begin with the opening invocation and pledges of allegiance. Heavenly Father, we come to you today as an assembled body. We humbly request that you bless our meeting, our community, and our nation. Help us to work diligently, always for the common good and in the best interest of those who we have been elected to represent. Guide us to be insightful and prudent in our intentions, visions, plans, deliberations, decisions, and their fulfillment. Work through us to provide a spirit of welcome to all in attendance, to engage in respectful and thoughtful dialogue and discussion with understanding, wisdom, and humility. Amen. If you wish, prior to reciting the pledges of allegiance, please take an additional moment of silent prayer or reflection in the manner of your preference. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pledge to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, do we have any comments from the public today? Thank you. Do we have Assistant Director, Assistant General Manager, right? Do we have any acts for requests for adjustments? We do not. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda. Items 1 through 15 in our meeting packet. Anybody have any questions or comments? Jeannie, you're chipping away at it, like always. Thank you very much. There's no questions that accept a motion to approve as submitted.
I motion to approve.
Motion to approve. We have a second. We have a motion and a second. You get the second? Okay, good. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you. I believe at this time that I am turning the meeting over to our attorney, Brian Yates. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. I will handle items 9 through 17. So we'll start with
Did
item,
I stay here?
Yep.
Adjourn? Okay.
so item number 9. So we'll do the handover after item 9 here.
Okay.
Item number 9 is to accept the qualification statements, bonds, oaths of office, and affidavits for the directors who are elected for the 2026 through 2030 term. So that is Donna and Dale, both reelected, and Keith Wagner elected as a new director on the district. So we do have everybody sign documents. We'll take a motion to accept those. I'll administer the oath for Keith since it's his first time being seated. I don't typically do it for elected directors. You'll sign your oath and that's typically sufficient. And then we'll, after we perform the oath for Keith, then he'll be seated and will be able to participate in the remainder of the meeting.
Good.
We have a motion to accept the documents under item number 9 on the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Good. Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, so now we'll do the oath. Keith, I'll go through it, and at the end, you'll affirm by saying I do or I will. Raise your right hand. You, Keith Wagner, solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully execute the duties of the office of Montgomery County MUD number 60, Montgomery County, Texas, and will, to the best of your ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state, so help you God. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, come grab a seat.
Were we going to give anything this, I think, okay.
They probably, have a moment here to congratulate Bob for his many years of service on the board. I know that the rest of you all certainly appreciate all the efforts and time that he's donated to the community and to this district. And Eric, I know you have a moment, a small token of that appreciation for him.
Yes, on behalf of Willows Water Agency and MUD 60, I'd like to present this plaque, which says our sincere thank you and appreciation for exceptional leadership and dedicated service to Montgomery County MUD 60. And it was from the dates of May 2014 to today. So I just want to thank you for all your service, Bob. It's been a pleasure working with you over the years, and thank you again.
Thank you. Same way, Bob.
Directors and I would like to present you a parting gift for all your years of service.
No, have a hand in this.
No x-rays required.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if you want to open it
Great
here or
folks.
wait till you get home.
Well,
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate you.
Okay.
Thank you for your leadership and running a tight ship. Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you. Work with.
Yeah.
Great people in this room.
Okay.
Take care of them, folks.
Okay, item number 10 on the agenda, elections not to disclose certain confidential personal information of the directors. We do have those filled out by our directors who have been elected for the term ending 2030. We have a motion to accept those documents.
I'll make a motion.
Motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item number 11, election of officers to the board. So refer to the cover page of the packet. You'll see what the current director and officer roster is. We'll refer to that both for the MUD officer positions as well as the trustee positions when we consider that as the next item. So we have Bob, who was president, so that's a vacancy. We'll go through each item, consider nominations for each office. Once those nominations are closed, then we'll take a vote. It's at the board's discretion if we want to go ahead and handle that as a voice or show of hands, as opposed to paper ballots, but we can do it however you want to do it.
So someone needs to make a motion for president.
We need nominations, receive nominations for president. Do we have a nomination for president?
I nominate Donna.
Okay, other
I'll second
nominations?
I'll second that.
Okay, do we have other nominations?
I'll nominate Paul.
Okay. Do both of y'all accept the nominations?
Yes.
Okay, all right, then we will consider, close the nominations then if there's no other nominations for president, and we'll call the vote. Those in favor of Donna, show of hands. Okay, those in favor of Paul, show of hands. Donna, elected president.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll move on to vice president. Was Donna, that is now vacant. Do we have nominations for vice president?
I have a nomination for Paul Shu to be vice president.
Nomination for vice president. Paul, do we have any other nominations for vice
Well,
president?
I second. Do I have to second that?
No, you don't second nominations.
All right.
Any other nominations for vice president? Accept the nomination.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor of Paul as vice president signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on now to secretary. Dale is currently secretary. Do we have a nomination for secretary?
Yes, I nominate Bill Freeble for secretary because he's such an excellent note taker in the meetings.
All right.
He has a good memory.
He's a great memory.
That's where the most work is. You got to sign the most documents.
That's great.
Is that acceptance of the
That's an
nomination?
acceptance.
All right, do we have any other nominees for secretary? Okay, if not, we'll close the nominations and call the vote. All those in favor of Bill as secretary. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Motion carries. Now we move on to assistant secretary. So it was Paul and Bill, so we have vacancies for both of those. We typically do have assistant secretaries nominated to be able to serve in the event that our primary secretary is unavailable. Do we have nominations? So the only two without offices now are Keith and Dale. Do we have nominations for them to serve as assistant secretaries?
I'll nominate Sam.
Okay, both of y'all?
Yeah.
Okay, we have nominations then. Both of y'all accept the nominations?
For two assistant secretaries,
Yep. We have two.
first alternate, second alternate.
No, they're just both.
Oh, okay, I see.
Both of y'all accept?
Except.
Okay, we will close the nominations and call the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, then that will take us down to appointment of trustee and alternates. Again, referring back to the cover page. Bob was the trustee. Paul was the first alternate. Bill was the second alternate. Do we have a nomination for trustee for Mud 60?
I nominate Dale Dale Walker for a trustee because he's a geologist and been on the board for 4 years.
Do we have other nominations for trustee?
Nominate Paul.
Do both of y'all accept the nomination?
Except.
Yes.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of Dale signify by a show of hands or saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and for Paul? Dale, for the nomination. Congratulations. Next is first alternate. So Paul is first alternate currently. Do we have a nomination for first alternate?
I nominate Keith Wagner for first alternate because it was a experience. I guess you have you had a niece that's in the wastewater treatment, so you got a little bit of knowledge there.
Other nominations for first alternate? Accept the nomination?
I do.
Okay, all those in favor of Keith as first alternate signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion, any abstentions? Motion carries. That will take us down to item, the next is second alternate. So Bill is currently the second alternate. Do we have a nomination for second alternate?
Paul.
Okay, any other nominations for second alternate? Paul, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor of Paul as second alternate signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries. Thank you. All right, that will take us down to item 13, the district registration form. That's an administrative document that we file with the TCEQ, has some factual information about the district, including who the directors are, what their officer positions are, and what their terms of office are. Those are obviously being updated after the action y'all taken today. And we have a motion to authorize the completion and filing of that updated form with the TCEQ. We have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Extensions? Motion carries. Item 14 is to update the local government officers list. That list includes all of your directors as well as your investment officer, who's your general manager. Do we have a motion to update that list to reflect that Keith is now a board member? Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Item 15, training requirements. So Keith, in your materials, there's a memo regarding Texas Open Meetings Act training and Public Information Act training. You can go to the AG's website to watch both of those videos. They're both 1 hour videos. You need to complete those within 90 days of being seated. I normally tell folks, go ahead and do it now. Yeah, so it doesn't kind of fall down the priority list. Once you complete it, there is a certificate of completion that you can download and send to Shelley for your file. Good news is, once you've completed these, you only have to do that one time. And then for all your service on the board, regardless of number of terms or what have you,
Nice.
only got to do it once.
Okay.
No actions necessary there. 16, conflicts disclosure statement reporting requirement. So also in your materials was a memo about conflicts. Those are always very fact specific. Normally we don't have conflicts, but Keith, if for any reason you think you may have one in the future, give me a call. We can talk about it since it is very fact specific. We'll talk about what the circumstances are and what, if anything, that you would need to do to address a potential conflict.
Excellent. Thank you.
No action is necessary on 16. So wrapping up on 17, there's a memo in the board packet regarding cybersecurity and artificial intelligence training. So the remainder of the directors, besides Keith, y'all may recall a couple of years back, we talked about cybersecurity training and how there was a requirement from the legislature that you complete that training, but only if you use the district computer system and use it for over, I think, 25% of your service at the district, your service to the district. And that was kind of a factual question for each director. You kind of got into some weeds about, well, if you use the Wi-Fi system, if you access the Google Drive, and I think the recommendation for the directors was like, if you're not sure, go ahead and complete it. But in regular MUD world, most directors weren't required to complete that training for cybersecurity at the time. Now, the legislature has revised that requirement to now obligate all elected officials to complete the cybersecurity training, regardless of whether you use any district computer system. So now all of you have to complete that, whether you've done it in the past or not. They're on the memo, and Shelley will send that out to y'all, so you have an electronic version that you can click on the hyperlink versus having to type in all the
Right.
question marks and dashes and what have you. So you should be able to click on that. Yes, sir.
The PDF though should be live, correct?
Well, we had one director who said they had a challenge being able to get
Get it
get
live.
it to from the PDF that was in the packet. So Shelley was going to send y'all out
Okay.
a separate version that, I haven't heard besides one director who's had an issue being able to.
That'd be very helpful
Access it.
for us Luddites that.
Yeah.
that-
Well, I wouldn't want to sit there and have to
Struggle.
type in all that.
No, the way I type, it definitely would be a mistake.
So we'll get that to you. There's two free training options for the cybersecurity that you'll see on the first page of that memo, and on the second page has links for the AI training. So in the AI training, there are still the metrics. That's a new training requirement. The metrics about using a district computer system and using it for 25% or more of your required duties. Again, I must tell you the same thing I said for cybersecurity a couple of years ago. Use your own best judgment as to whether you think you qualify as being required to take it. And if you think you're close, just take it. You're not having to go in somewhere and watch it. It's something you can do at home or at your office at your discretion by just watching the link online. So I'd say when in doubt, just go ahead and do them both. Now, one difference or a couple differences with this training versus what we were just talking about with Public Information Act and Open Meetings Act training. First difference is that it is an annual obligation. So we will have to have directors complete this each year. We'll probably bring it up around this time in future years. The first training obligation must be completed by August 31st, and that's listed in the memo. Again, same thing we talked about with the other training, do it sooner rather than later. So that's one difference, is it's the annual requirement. The second difference is that according to some directors that I've talked to who've already completed the training, there's not a certificate of completion that you get. So you'll need to email Shelley to let her know once you've completed the training and if you did one or both of the training sessions, and that we're going to go in the honor system. And so that will evidence that you completed your training for this year. I had a director outside the Woodlands who suggested, said, well, if they don't have a training, if they don't have a certificate, I could use AI to create one. I'm like, no, that's like, you need to watch your training. Let's not fabricate documents with the, with AI.
Was that recorded?
It was not.
Oh, well.
It was not. I'll leave that director nameless.
Okay.
But it does make for a good story. Yeah, exactly. But that's all I have under the cybersecurity and AI training. Happy to answer questions if you have any. All right, Donna, I will turn it over to you as our presiding officer.
Okay, thank you. I guess we go on to number 18, receive the regular monthly SJRA/Woodland Division report. That be,
Yeah.
would that be for Eric or from Chris? Chris, okay.
So we do have two items this month. The first is our standard monthly operations reports on pages 18 to 33 in your packet. Nothing out of the ordinary, no violations, no major breakdowns. So that's pretty cut and dry. The other item we do have that is worthwhile to listen to is I'm going to turn it over to Aaron, who's going to talk about the 10-year project plan.
Oh, he said it was worthwhile to listen to.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I'll have you talk for nothing.
Well. All right, well, in your packet, you ought to have inside of their PowerPoint presentation that looks like this on the cover of the Woodlands Division 2-year project plan. Also, it's not in the packet, but as a separate attachment, there's more copies right here. You will have the actual 10-year project plan itself with all the projects, all the descriptions, photos, budgets, schedules, all that detail in there. Primarily what we want to talk about today is the fact that we update the 10-year project plan every year, but the focus is projects that either have already started and continuing into FY27, which our fiscal year starts September 1st, or the projects that will be starting in FY27, because all that rolls into the budget, which is ultimately what is approved in August, and these projects are part of that for that fiscal year. So I don't have the actual page numbers that are in the packet, but hopefully I'll show you the slide to help you follow along. Oh, Chris, thank you. That helps. I do have the slide numbers now. So first of all, and this is page 35. So what is a 10-year project plan? Well, it's a tool to allow us to maintain our infrastructure because we are the wholesale water and wastewater provider. In the Woodlands, we have all the facilities and the larger lines as well. Plan to do so in advance of needing the funds to do those major projects. So if we were to just to do a 1-year plan, well, in the next year, we may not have the funds available to do XYZ project. That is coming up in the next few years. So plan 10 years in advance. The next year that we have along, that's where we're set in stone. Everything else is still fluid and subject to change. We do a lot of studies, and I'll be talking about that here in a second, that have provided the direction that have these projects in this project plan. However, it can change, particularly if you have infrastructure that fails out of the blue. Yeah, see, just like me yesterday. And operational needs can also change the project plan. Moving on to slide 36. So how are they developed and prioritized? Again, we have an asset management plan, which was developed several years ago, and we updated it regularly. It tells us how risk is assessed for different assets, which then can lead to a project of a facility. However, we also have studies that are done on a regular basis for our different types of assets. We talk about water plants, wastewater plants, lift stations, line work in the ground, water lines, ESTs. And so we take all that information and we use the recommendations that were provided by those consultants to figure out when we need to do those projects and to make sure we have the budget in advance or planning for the budget that we'll need for those projects. We typically update those projects every 10 years. So not only then the projects are in the project plan over the 10-year period, but you will see also studies that will be coming up in the project plan to refresh the studies that were previously done and reprioritize if needed projects further in the future. Moving on to page 37, which is kind of hard to read, but it's basically this one. That's just an example of in the past 5 years, studies that we have done. It's not all inclusive. We can look at some of those. And in fact, even in more detail, page 30, what I said the last one was 36 or 738. A good list of how the projects or the studies have led to projects in this project plan. So each of these, you have a category, a type of infrastructure. First bullet is a study that's been previously done. And then next to that, below that, we'll have a study that may be coming up in the future. That's in the project plan. And below that, all those different number codes are IDs that correspond to a project that is in the project plan at some point in the 10-year period. How do we fund these projects? See, I've got this nice colorful page 39. It all starts with revenue from the rates for water and wastewater sales. Now, from that, you go in the 3 different directions. You have the operating fund, which we're talking about in a second. We also have an emergency reserve, which we have to keep funded. And there is debt service reserve on debt that we currently have from previous bonds that we have acquired. It's from the operating fund. That is where you go toward both your O&M things such as salaries, insurance, fuel, chemicals, basic parts, things of that nature. But then on a monthly basis, there is a transfer of money from that O&M budget to the R&R fund, what we call repair and replacement fund. And that's what funds most of our capital projects, particularly the ones that are placing things on a usual basis or rehabbing infrastructure on a usual basis, such as ESD recoatings or well rehabs or things of that nature. However, when you get into larger projects, our R&R fund just can't keep up with those needs, that large expense. So in the past, we have gotten bonds. 2017, we got over $40 million worth of bonds. We have used that for several projects already. And we have several more, which we'll be able to finance primarily the construction of those projects with. And they're listed in more detail in this packet, in the study and in future years in the packet. Also, we have gotten a grant from the federal government, $1.825 million for a lift station project to mitigate it for it's flooded several times and for mitigating against future floods. So that's also detailed in your project plan and in the slideshow further on. But then we also have several projects which are unfunded. Of particular note, the Tier 1 water line replacement projects, Down Center Water Line and the Woodlands Parkway Water Line project. And as been presented to you before a month or so ago, the supplemental agreement would be what would be used to fund those Tier 1 projects. There's also a lot of other unfunded projects in the future, which we'll reassess the needs for those, but also it's ones that we cannot afford to do under our normal R&R transfers every year. Let's see next. So how does our budget cycle usually work every year? Well, come to y'all first this month in May, but it usually starts around October. And that's when we start doing assessments of our facilities, looking at our asset management plan, how things have changed over the years as far as corrective maintenance and things of that nature, replacement of parts, and has equipment broke down. And that all comes into play when we start looking at needs for projects and also looking at studies that we need to still do in the future and putting this 10-year plan together for the next fiscal year. So then this month in May was when we present the project plan, the draft project plan to y'all for review. Next month, you will be getting the draft O&M budget for review. Then in July is when further discussion occurs, and then each of the MUDs will provide direction to their trustee on how to vote on the O&M budget. There's no actual vote on the project plan, but because the project plan is part of the O&M budget for that fiscal year, that's what ultimately gets approved, the O&M budget. Then August is when the trustees for each of those MUDs will vote on how to approve the O&M budget. And then September 1 is ultimately when the O&M budget takes effect, which includes those project plan projects for 27 as well. So for some of y'all who have been here for a number of years, and you start looking at the project plan, you may need to notice a significant difference in the overall final amount for that 10-year period. And I'm looking at slide 41 or slide 8, whichever number you're looking at, but it's page 41. So over the past 2 years, our project plan has been roughly $700 million in value. And a lot of that $700 million was looking at future replacements or other strategies for wastewater treatment facility number 1. Also, there was a substantial amount that was already placed for projects for AC water line replacement over a 10-year period, replacing basically all those AC lines within that 10-year period. However, since that time, we have done an AC water line condition-based assessment, which told us we still got to replace some water lines in this 10-year period, but not as many. And also, we're taking a step back from the wastewater treatment facility project. So all those costs for that wastewater treatment facility have been taken out, except for continuing the owner's advisor study to now take the SFUE data we've gotten from Woodlands Water and looking at right sizing the plant based on that and historical flows, including some very high flows during storm events, and figuring out what the right size for that plant would need to be in the future. And from that, you look at a strategy then of repair place of the facility and figure out when that needs to be done, how big does it need to be, and then the costs that are associated with that. Now, we do know roughly what needs to be done. It's just when and how big. So you go to the next slide, which is 42, you'll see, potential future costs that would be associated with that type of strategy. And then on the right side, potential list of projects that we know need to be done because that's already existing infrastructure within the plant. Like I said, we'll be doing that analysis over the next, I think, 12 months to right size the plan and come up with that list of projects and that kind of plan forward. That, any questions so far on the overall project plan development and the strategy and the kind of that shift from last year? Yes, ma'am.
Page 42, you have an estimated total budget spread between 75 million and 150 million. That's
Yes, ma'am.
kind of a big spread. Is there, because there's a lot of unknowns
Yes.
in that?
And that's what the owner's advisor, they'll be helping us to quantify is based upon the right sizing of the plan and the future needs, what the actual costs will be for that program of replacement or repair for the plant.
So, it should be at least a minimum of 75 million.
That is our understanding based upon some rough costs we've done before.
Thank you very much for the list on the right, the potential projects. Is there kind of like did you group them into like good, bad, and the ugly in the sense that are there some that got to be done and then there's some that we can watch and then there's some that are just like, we got to take care of tomorrow kind of thing?
That's what we asked the consultant to put together for us, the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, kind of like the HDR study, so they can tell us I don't want them to tell us the groups of do this in the first 5 years, do this the next 10. I want them to just tell us when it needs to be done. And then we'll collectively decide what needs to go in the 5 and 10. So that was all approved at the trustees last month.
Oh,
So
okay. Good. Okay, that helps us a lot because this is a long list. So
Yes.
Yeah.
So with that, sake of everybody's time, unless you want to go into the details, the next, from slide 43 to, let's see here. 43 to 62 is a list of those projects, like I mentioned, that will have either started or will start in FY27. Detail, yes, sir.
I have a question on page 45.
45?
45,
Okay.
which is the Woodlands Parkway replacement. That's a replacement due to a failure caused by improper construction, correct?
That is from the evaluation of what we dug up when we repaired the line. Mostly, yeah, improper construction. There'll be bad bedding, overbilling, things of that nature. There was also another line that was put in adjacent to that line at a later date that could have also impacted that line as well.
Does SJRA, the people that did that work, I've been told, are out of business now?
I have to look back at who actually did it. Well, yeah, we'll definitely check on that.
Well, my ultimate question is, when SJRA goes out to bid, you obviously make sure that your contractors have insurance, correct?
Oh, definitely, yes.
Okay. And they have general liability insurance, they have professional insurance. At what level, do you know?
Well, for this particular project, it would be a sort of a non-standard project, so we may have to adjust it just because it's such a large dollar amount. Typically, for most of our projects, I think it's 1 in 3. But
The people who originally did the work had insurance, correct?
I would have to look at the records, but I'm assuming they did.
Do you know for a fact, or do you know at all, if we've gone out to their insurance company and explained that their work was improper and have caused us a claim?
Well, see, that was about 26 years ago.
But it also wasn't our contractor.
That's a good point.
So the line was installed by Howard Hughes or Land Development Company, whoever it was at the time, then
Okay.
deeded over to the River Authority.
Okay. So we picked up somebody else's garbage.
Was it
Well,
like a bed of sand? I think it was what, they didn't put a proper bed of sand underneath.
well, according to the developer who we have spoken to, they said at the time it did meet all standards. So it's just, it does not meet today's standards. So
Do we think, and I'm asking you to hypothesize, I'm not holding you to anything. Do we think that this 14,000 linear feet will be the problem? Or do we think there might be additional problems with that contractor's work from years ago?
We can investigate that, but according to the break history, this appears to be just a trouble line that was put in all at one time. And it's the entire stretch of that line from point A to point B. So we can see who put in, if there was any lines that were PVC that around that same time that have had a similar break history, not to my knowledge, because everything else has been AC that we're looking at having a higher break history.
let me just add to what you're saying. It's part of what HCR did is you have a project later on called the Woodlands Parkway Supplemental Lines.
Mhm.
Those are also of concern. I don't know if they're the same contractor, but we do know they're PVC and we've had additional breaks on those lines. So generally anything coming directly off that line from Water Tower 5, Branch Crossing to 2978, those little legs, if you will, those would be of concern.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, we're going to spend $33 million. Is this the beginning of a bunch of this?
Right.
And do we have to plan for that? Or is this the problem we have and it's done and we can move forward, right?
So I can tell you, I've been here 16 years and the limits of that pipeline is all I'm really concerned about. I have not seen PVC break that much across the Woodlands anywhere else. So
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but if history tells me anything, then that's the bad segment to get rid of.
Did you folks fix the problem permanently at Gosling and Research Forest?
Gosling and Research.
Well,
the-
research forest across the creek. That's what you're talking about.
No, that intersection, there was a number of leaks over the last couple of years there.
GRP line.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
Oh.
That
Yeah.
has,
That's GRP.
we haven't had any in a couple years.
Good. All right,
So don't know if they're fixed.
thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. So I'm gonna say, for sake of revised time, there was a 40-minute presentation to the trustees last week. It's on YouTube, so you can go to that and reference all the details are to be discussed for these 2027 projects, and of course, you're also in the project plan. I did want to note and kind of stole my thunder a little bit about the two water line projects. Those are, well, the first one, the Town Center Water Line Replacement Project, has been funded. It's been, almost finished design through the R&R funds. However, that's all we have to do the project with. So anything in the future will be from a secondary source, which is part of what is the reason of the supplemental agreement for both land acquisition and construction costs. Woodlands Parkway water line replacement, all those other funds for the supplemental agreement, there are no R&R funds for that project. So I just wanted to make sure y'all are aware of that. Does anybody else want to go through any of the specific projects between there and page 62?
One other question on either Town Center or Woodlands Parkway. This is a general question.
Sure.
The average person here in the Woodlands doesn't care as long as they turn on the faucet and the water's there. But if we're digging up the roads, we all get phone calls on traffic. When you do these projects, what is your thought process in mitigating traffic disruption?
Well, it depends on the installation, the replacement method. Of course, we're going to be outside the road. We're not putting anything under the road. We may have to bore across the road for lateral connections. This is depending on this method. You may have a traffic lane closure that may be 1,000 feet long or so, but for the most part, they'll be working off the lanes. That'll be more for safety for the contractors during the workday. And of course, we'll be working through our PC department, our public communications department, to make sure the public is aware through the township, through Woodlands Water, that, we'll have these lane closures when they do occur and when they're occurring, and everybody is made aware of that schedule.
We also coordinate that with the county.
And the county, yes, thank you. Okay, precinct 3, and then.
On page 65, I guess the bottom line is we need new funding for about $227 million. Is that what we're talking about, supplemental agreement in the future?
That is part of it. So what we do, like with the AC water lines, those two projects, there is a supplemental agreement for up to 75 million of those funds. Future funding is really at y'all, however y'all choose to do it. I know Eric has some information later. It could be bonds, it could be rates, combination thereof, but those are the non-funded, unfunded projects at this time.
Oh, in the 227, that's the total. Okay, thank you. Just want to make note on page 63 that we do have some newer projects that have been added to the project plan. These are ones that span a 10-year period typically, because they're kind of what you call smaller maintenance, ongoing maintenance. Before they were in the O&M budget, you have things like waste, facility painting or valve replacement or manhole coating, things of that nature. Well, because we have a project plan and that's where the projects reside, and we have an O&M budget where most everything else is, salaries, insurance, chemicals, things of that nature, it makes sense to then move all this, even the smaller projects like these, into the project plan, even though it's an ongoing routine type of project, we just figure put all the projects in one place and fund them the same way. Then moving on to slide 64. So 2027, this is what reflected in the voting budget for 2027 or the proposed. The transfers into the R&R fund for water projects during that year of roughly $9.4 million, and transfers of roughly $3.3 million for R&R funded wastewater projects. Everything else then is either funds from existing bonds that we already have on hand. So during 2027, spend $10 million of those. And we have roughly $23 million left to utilize. So we have for the 2027 and for some future years as well. Federal funding is part of that federal grant we got for that one lift station. So approximately half of that. And then the other half will be in the future fiscal year. So $958,000. And then for the town center line and then the Woodlands water line, the parts that are unfunded and then will be occurring in the FY 2027, roughly $15.3 million for a total 27 expected spend of $39 million. And all in all done for the 10-year period, like I said, subject to change. We're doing more studies to update the project plan. And of course, things can always change with infrastructure failures and other needs. But total R&R project plan of funding of $101 million, using all those, pretty much almost all those 2017 bonds that were left, so $23 million approximately. That total amount of those federal grants or federal funding of $1.825 million. And then the non-funded projects, so the water line projects, Tier 1 and Tier 2. We also have some gravity sewer rehab projects further out in the 10-year project plan, which were put in there based upon a study done in 2017. We will be updating that study in a few years, so those could also change and be reprioritized one way or the other. But a total of $227 million for all that work as of right now, for a total amount of $353 million in change. And again, that does not include anything for wastewater treatment facility 1. One other thing, a couple of things to note for the R&R fund transfers. Currently, we are transferring $6 million per year from the O&M budget to R&R funds for those projects. Starting in FY 27, we're proposing to increase that by $250,000. And then every year after that, increasing another $250,000 until we get to $7.5 million per year in FY 2032. And next couple slides after that is just showing y'all those non-funded projects that are currently in the project plan. And most of those still are subject to change besides Town Center and Woodlands Parkway.
Where do the dam funds, which bucket are they in? The non-funded?
The dam funds are not included in the Woodlands Division budget. That's a separate budget by itself. For like Bear Branch?
Yeah.
Yeah, separate budget entirely.
They have their own project plan.
Well, yeah,
You did fine.
no, I know. I know that.
That answers.
Is there do you know when you're going to be presenting Bear Branch?
We'll be presenting Bear Branch next month on the capital projects along with the budget, the maintenance budget.
Thanks.
All right, thanks so much.
Thanks for the details on the wells, the well remediation.
Yes.
They're very well organized, the bullet points and the maps. It gives us a good feel for the water well
Right.
work that you're doing.
Yeah.
I like your doing that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay. Are we on number 20 now? Consider an act on the supplemental agreement with SJRA for the issuance of bonds in connection with Tier 1 water line renewal projects, including discussion on timing of the Tier 1 water line renewal projects and review of district payment options. One long sentence.
As we talked about prior, termination on, the supplemental being June or July. I know there's some adjustments to the actual document, but in the meantime, there's a request just to see what the impact would be of the first two bond issues for the two tier one projects. So, David, the financial advisor, and Adam, put together some performas. Those are kind of the big sheets. And what I did was basically extract the information from those four sheets to put on this front sheet, just so you kind of see all four together. What you see on here is basically for funding through water rates versus a rollback tax collection. You see the difference there as it relates to whether or not the bond, SDRA bonds would be a 10-year bond, a 5-year bond, and what the impact would be to the customer on a water bill versus a tax bill. So suggest that we entertain rollback tax for $4.20, but just wanted to show you what the breakout would look like in either case. As you can see, the monthly for 25-year bonds is a little less to the customer each month. However, adding 5 more years to your performance is definitely going to increase the overall cost that you'll be paying for interest for that. I miss anything?
I don't think so.
That's
just
the
that.
average to the total. Yeah, is about,
Yeah, first bond that would serve for town center and engineering for Willis Water or Willis Parkway would be roughly $4.53 addition on the average water bill. And then bringing in the second bond issue in a few years, we'll add an additional $4.27. So over the course of the next 5 years, you'd be looking at about $8.80 on a 20-year bond for average water bill. And I think once the treatment plant information comes back in, and at that point, we probably refresh the tier 2 water line project cost estimates. You'll have information on the wastewater treatment plant, and you have a little bit clearer sight on the Woodlands Parkway water line. You might look at all those as a whole and see if, it makes sense to stay on the path of water rates or go down a different path at that point. But just want to give the information as we
Okay.
continue through the supplemental discussion.
okay, that's the average above, and then we look down to MUD 60, and you're showing the annual impact to MUD 60 is like about $61 for the whole year. Is that correct? Per year?
That's correct. On a tax basis, that $60 is based off of an estimated increase in tax rate when applied to an average homestead value in MUD 60. The numbers you'll notice are similar to what they are on the water rates, but kind of at a
Okay.
different basis. But we're solving for the same
Okay.
revenue requirement each.
So we're being presented options of either doing a bond or increasing taxes. Is that what we're?
I don't know if it's a viable option really to do the bottom stuff, just because you'd have to go back to the voters for all that.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It'd be a mess. And
that
to
just-
do it for $4 or $5 on a bill is not really worth your bang for your buck. I
Right.
think what you might entertain is once you have all of that information I just talked about, getting the new numbers for all the other stuff, that may be when you look at your options a little bit clearer.
Okay, so you're recommending just looking at the water rates?
Well,
With
I
bonds,
mean,
with
that's what
bonds,
we've
with
talked
water
about
rates.
up
Okay.
to now. Yeah. But there was questions about, okay, well, what would it look like if we did do a rollback for these first couple, and we're just providing that to you so you can see it. But I don't know that that's a viable option realistically for at least these first two tranches.
Increase.
So just more information to consider.
Like 7 cents, actually, that increase the pennies and yes.
It's on the second page.
We have
And then the backup for each of these 4 boxes is these 4 pages attached to it. Of the numbers coming out. Just a summary page.
So what's the difference between the 20 and 25-year kind of total additional cost?
in debt service around $11 million.
11 million?
But that 25-year bond structure, of course, has a lesser impact, on the annual requirement, but it extends over a longer period of time.
Yeah, okay.
So Keith, what's been talked about up until this point in terms of how to pay for the new member, already watched some of the videos and did speed on it. So stop me if I'm
Go ahead.
giving you old information. But because there's going to be a series of these projects over time, and you try to space them out, because if the river authority's bond financing them, federal tax law says you got to spend those proceeds with a certain amount of time. So you don't just go get a big, even though maybe if you had an attractive rate environment, which now it's kind of like, yeah, it's not bad, but it's not great. But if you had a great rate environment, you may, if that wasn't a limitation, you may say, hey, I'm going to go to the market and try to get all of this low rate and then spend it out as I need it. That's not an option with the federal tax regulation, so that you've got to come and do it in pieces. So what we've talked about is, okay, well, how do we pay for each incremental piece? And initially, I think the simplest way is to incorporate what the river authority charges to the MUDs and the wholesale rate, incorporating all or a portion of that into a infrastructure renewal fee that Eric has started to implement with the funds that came from the reduction of the GRP rate recently. So there was a little bit of savings there. We dropped the GRP rate, but we adopted an initial infrastructure renewal fee that was exactly equal to what the reduction in the GRP. So basically some seed money there. And so now it's talking about, okay, for this first tranche, or first supplemental agreement that includes 2 tranches of bonds up to 75 million, increasing that infrastructure renewal rate by some amount, and we'll see what that is, but hopefully it will be uniform among all the districts to deal with this piece. And then we come back with a larger piece. Ultimately, when we deal with certainly the wastewater treatment plant, that's probably going to be a large enough number that it's going to be worth doing a more detailed consideration of, do we go to the voters, the directors go to the voters and explain to them, hey, I know you don't like tax increases, but here's what the options are. You could either pay a retail rate that's higher that you cannot deduct from taxes, and that all residents pay based on your usage, or we can have a rollback election that allows us to levy. We say rollback election. The legislatures, much developed districts can increase their tax revenue each year by 3.5%. And so for districts that have extremely low tax rates in the Woodlands, going up 3.5% doesn't give you a whole lot of juice. Right. Yeah. Other districts, it may be different, but we've been blessed with lowered our tax rates. Well, now that kind of works against us when we need to fund large capital improvements. So you can go to the voters, get their approval to allow you to go above that 3.5% increase to whatever the number is, a 10% increase, whatever. But what you explain, if you decide to go to voters on that, what you're explaining is, yes, it's a tax increase, but number one, the Woodlands MUDs provide a full 20% residential homestead exemption. Mm-hmm. So you get that commercial properties and second homes or lease properties don't get. Number two, if you're over 65 and disabled, you also get that exemption on top of it. Plus, usually water usage by residents is higher than on a per unit basis than it is for commercial property. So if you have it on a tax basis, essentially what you're doing is you're shifting some of the burden from your residents to the non-residents and commercial taxpayers off of your resident, where you can't do that if you do it on a straight retail rate. So I think there's a good story to tell, but it's going to be a fair amount of heavy lifting on the political side to be able to go and explain that nuance to people. But to Eric's point, when you're talking about, $60, $40 in a year, it's not worth, you only want to probably do that one time and wait to do that until you've got a large enough project that's ready to, that justifies spending all that political capital, essentially. So that, I think each time we come to y'all, you're going to see the impact on retail wholesale rates and the impact on the tax side, but just understand that the recommendation is likely not going to be to pursue the tax side until we get to funding the wastewater treatment plant renewal.
Yeah, and the infrastructure renewal fee that Brian spoke about, we implemented 11 cents of that back in February. So we've already started implementing 11 cents of that. That came from the reduction of the GRP rate that happened at that time. We just kept it constant and separated it as a separate line item with the intention that whenever this came about, is that this 54 cents would end up going into that slot. So we're already collecting 11 cents of that. At least we'll have, 9, 10 months of that worth by the time this goes into effect in January or whatever the rate will go into effect.
About January.
If the bond sale, yeah.
Right.
Next.
Is there a possibility in future we could apply for more federal funding? Even if it's just a drop in the bucket?
So what the project is and who's willing to help us.
Steve Toth. Yes.
He hasn't helped us in the past.
No, well, no, he's going to be taking over Dan Crunch if he wins
That's
the,
state level.
it depends if he wins the election in November.
We have really good luck with Crenshaw, supporting the women's, at the Fed level, so we'll see if he wins, if he's
Mhm.
able to help at the federal level.
We'll reach out. We
We
have. Okay. All right. Any more comments from any other directors? Any questions?
I had a quick question.
Okay.
2022, SJRA had very good tours of the facilities for the incoming directors. And I think that really went over well. And is there are you planning or could you plan a similar kind of thing as kind of a background for new and incoming directors and even existing directors to attend again?
No.
You don't get to, you.
I'll even go for free. I won't even submit it. Pay. And be a chance to see the facilities and go through the history. And I mean, maybe you can do that for the future.
Yeah, we're definitely looking at that at some point in June, maybe early July, at the latest. It's just, I know Eric's got some things he's got to go through. There's a lot, drinking from a fire hose with a lot of new directors. So yeah, when convenient, we'll definitely set something up.
That's really helpful. That's really.
And it'll be Woodlands and GRP as well. So.
And then maybe we could have all MUD meeting where we could review pipeline work for the future, what we're planning, and then maybe about where we sit for the wastewater treatment facility. What's our current status? Because there's been changes, and I know that when we had those at the old community center, those were also very helpful. And
I think Eric has some things to talk about that.
Oh, okay. Am I getting ahead of the?
You're doing my whole.
Am I getting ahead of the? Okay.
Just short the jam report.
Well, maybe I'm picking that up. I'm not the ESP, but okay, well, that's good.
Make you president.
No. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on to 21. I guess this is Eric Peterson.
21, no update on Bear Panther. The MUD 67 is looking at trying to get some local officials together to see if there's any additional possible funding. And then ultimately we'll be continuing down the route of the Corps of Engineers for the gap funding program, which hopefully we can get them to put the feasibility in their budget for their next fiscal budget.
Which is in 2027. Okay, thank you. And all right, skipping over to 22, any attorneys report?
Nothing
We just-
additional.
That we just
I've
did.
already covered everything. You
Okay.
covered under the other earlier items.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, now back to General Manager Peters. So now number 23.
Yes, page 76 is the general manager's report. Those are on page 89. On page 73, just want to point out, we have 178 open projects. Those are projects that have been submitted by the community, either for a new development or most of them, as you can see, are redevelopment, some commercial, some residential redevelopment. And we have a specific process that they have to go through to submit drawings. We review drawings, we do inspections, make sure that their paperwork is in order and all those things. So about 70, almost 180 of those going on right now. As a result of some of those, we also do customer service inspections, CSIs. And last month we had 44 of those. So once we have the CSI, the final inspection, and then they pay their fees to tie on or tap on, that's when they would generally drop off this spreadsheet when they've done everything they need to do. Also wanted to point out, we had just over 1,200 work orders overall throughout the Woodlands this last month as well. So that's pretty consistent. Wanted to point out on the ditch work, we've been talking about all the ditch work we've been doing for the last 6 months or so or longer. And we went ahead and provided a spreadsheet here that you can see. It shows, if you recall, in the budget last year that was approved for this year, all of the level 3 or tier 1 projects, all the worst condition areas. We hit the ground running after the budget started in October. And you can see here, everything in green is things we've done. White and orange are things that we need to continue to do. So we've really just been chewing through most of that work, anything from pipe failures to siltation, vegetative cutback, so we can access some of the ditches. So I just wanted to give you a kind of summary of all of the ditches that we've been doing. A lot of this, the heavy pipe stuff is we use subcontractors to do, and then our ditch crew who got started a couple months ago has really hit the ground running by doing vegetative cutback as well as some minor siltation or desiltation.
Okay.
So a lot of work going on there. We're optimistic. We believe that we'll be able to complete just about all of the work that we set out to do. There's some of the projects, this is where we added that kind of orange or tan areas. It requires some coordination with the entities or people in that area. And so could be a golf course that needs to shut, just different things that logistically are a little bit more complicated. So that's why we just pointed those out. Those will take a little bit of planning to get
It's
those.
like a lot of work, a lot of busyness there.
A lot of work for sure.
Yes.
What's the goal on that time wise? Is the goal to get it done before hurricane season or what?
No,
Or just get it done?
yeah, the goal was to get it done in this fiscal year. So we've just systematically been hitting it as quickly as we can. Initially it worked well. We could logistically group a number of pipe failures along the same ditch. And now we've gotten most of those groupings done, and now it's just kind of one here, which takes a little bit longer, but we tried to get some of the worst ones done first, and the ones we could group first, and those are all pretty much done. So we're just going to continue to knock through it.
Yeah, you've done a great job. You really have. You see it around as you drive around the community.
Yeah, looks good.
These projects come and go pretty quick and, yeah.
Sure, thank you.
I have a question back on 78, mud 63 of 4 meters have been replaced. Are those the smart water meters?
The large diameter water meter, yes, usually for the commercial.
Have there been reports of a lot of leaking from these meters that I'm hearing from a resident? No?
Leaks happen every day. I mean, we probably do dozens every day throughout the Woodlands as far as leaks that are in and around meters. So we get the call, we go in, someone identifies it, and then we go out and check and see if the leak is on the customer side or if it's on the mud side. And then if it's on the mud side, then we repair it.
Okay. All right. I guess the rest of the report is John Geiger.
No, I
No, still you? Okay, never mind.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Hey, she just let you off the hook, Eric. I
fell for it. No, just a couple more things. Wanted to point out that AWD conference is going to be coming up in June 18th, 19th, and 20th. So if you have interest in going, a handful of us go, the directors go, and that'll be at the Gaylord up in Grapevine. So that'll be June 18th to the 20th. If you want to, you're interested in registering for that, reach out to Shelley and she can help you get set up with that. New director orientation. So that's one of the things you were heading towards. For the last few elections, what I've done is put together an orientation for the new directors where we walk them through, introduce them to staff, introduce everybody to kind of what WWA does versus responsibilities SGRA. Brian assists with that as well. So we're looking at June 12th. That's a Friday. Put that together. So more will come out on that. We're trying to get that date set and location. There's, I think, a handful of new directors, so we should be able to post it here and we'll look forward to that.
Thank you.
As far as an all mud meeting,
Yeah.
which was the next thing you identified, the idea is to potentially put an all mud type of meeting together to go over the status of the water line projects, to generally get the new mud directors up and running on that. So depending on how many, a lot of the existing directors have seen it also, depending on what kind of attendance expectation we have, if it's less than, I mean, if those that already have been through this are not planning to attend and it's more the new directors, then we probably can host it at Dream Plant, facility there, that's SGR's plant. If we don't think we can fit there, then we may need to, and in the past, we went to the community center, which is no longer there anymore. So we could look at the Brady Center as well. If we think we're gonna get a big attendance. So don't have a date on that yet, but we're working on that. Likely will be sometime in June.
Thank you.
And just as we have done in the past, well, on page 893, just a letter there from the GRP talking about the pro rata vote shares for each GRP member on the global amendment. So as you can see on the bottom of page 98, the Newlands division is about 22% of the vote for when that vote occurs. So we'll see more to come on that as we go through this. And then in the back of the report, we have a number of thank yous that we've received from customers, actually going out of the way to write thank you letters. I really appreciate when we receive that feedback from customers. We get them a lot. So I always like to share those with you all as well. And with that, I will kick it to John for communication.
Hi. Page 85 for your communications report. So it's May, which means we're in the last month of our second quarter of our strategic plan, with a focus there primarily has been on water quality. Tell the story of water quality the last few months. We'll segue into water conservation for the third quarter for the summer months. You can see some other outreach emphases there for the last month. And then I wanted to touch on that school-based water education program. So pretty exciting pilot program that has wrapped up at Tough Elementary for fifth graders. So this is a curriculum that's tailored towards our community that teaches kids about water education and then water conservation. They actually take a conservation kit home and they, with their parents, install faucet aerators and low flow shower heads and shower timers and so forth, and report back on that. So the parents are involved as well. This was a pilot. It involved all the fifth graders at Tough. The goal is to bring it to all the fifth graders in the township next year. So we'll evaluate the pilot, tweak anything we need to tweak, and then bring that forward again next year. And this is a joint venture with the township and the SGRA. So more to come on that.
This is going to sound black helicopterish, but do you know the students that got the low flow water devices and that kind of thing? Are you able to track the actual water usage from those houses?
Yes. Well, we're not doing it through. We can look at household water use on our end, of course, but we're not tracking it that way. They're tracking it through the program on who installed what, and then the water savings. They can describe the water savings to that. The average household and a faucet area at an average household will save this amount of water. So basically, looking at it from
So
that.
it's almost self-reported.
Yes,
We're not looking at
that's right.
it. Okay.
That's right.
We're
Well,
not,
there is that education part of all that, which is a big focus, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So self-reporting is important in that regard.
That's right. That's right. And everything is TEKS oriented or TEKS correlated as well. So teachers are excited to use this as a way to accomplish their goals through the TEKS. So, all right, page 86. Excited to note that we received an award, the Watermark Award from Texas American Waterworks Association, Texas chapter. Eric went down there to the conference that occurred a few weeks ago down in San Antonio, received that award. That was for the work we did as an agency. This extends just beyond the communications department. This was multiple departments, multiple individuals working to get WaterSmart from a 17% registration rate to over 80% in less than a year, 3-year span.
Awesome.
We need to get that in our newsletter.
Yeah, that needs to be publicized.
That.
You've got water bill ads. The current one is on the defined irrigation schedule. The next one coming out at the end of the month will be on ways to save water. Some examples of current marketing materials are at the bottom of 86. 87, we have the Woodlands Water Weekly, just some examples of what goes into that weekly e-blast. This goes out every Monday morning. It is an e-newsletter with tips and techniques on lawn and landscape care, fixing leaks, water topics, educational offerings, as well as an irrigation guide. So this is a great way to get a good sense of the types of things we are communicating on as a whole. So if you're not plugged into Woodlands Water Weekly, I recommend you sign up for that e-newsletter. And then on 88, we have our social media platforms. Whenever you're in one of those, please just take a second to like us and follow us and share us. That really helps us expand our reach. We're doing great with YouTube Shorts, by the way. That's a new one for us, and it's been performing really well. I'm excited about that. YouTube Shorts.
YouTube shows, okay.
Yeah. And then next month, I'll report some actual metrics. I'll do that quarterly on our social media. And then finally on 89, we had a nice piece on water quality in the Woodlands Community Magazine. It's a township publication. And then your in-person outreach calendar there. Everything is in old date. Working to get some new stuff on there. I'll let you know whenever we do add things so that you can come out if you so wish and join us. Anything or any questions?
I have a quick question. One of the directors on Another Mud said that I watched, there was a Zoom meeting that talked about how that we were on the leading edge for condition-based assessment of the pipelines. And that, did I know about it? And I didn't.
It was from the AWBD.
I don't know. That's what I was, it was a presentation that was lauding us for using the service and having the study done
The
for.
engineering assessment.
Yeah,
And they use the Woodlands as
an example.
an example of how this could be done.
Not aware. If you could track that down, we'd love
I'm
to see
trying to
it.
track it down.
Yeah.
I would think so. There were two people on Two Other Muds said, "Did you see it?" And I went, "No, I really would love to see it," because my hope is that it was recorded and that a link is available so that we could send it to all of our constituents and say, here's an example of the way we are shepherding your money and doing it correctly.
Absolutely.
So I'll try to find that out from the other directors.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now back to General Manager Peterson, trustees report.
Trustees report is there. Trustee summary is there. Basically, the main thing is that we heard the presentation that you heard earlier from Aaron. And then the trustees did vote to move forward with completing the analysis on the wastewater treatment plant, as Chris mentioned earlier. So those were the two main points.
Looks like you had a Woodlands GRP team that took first place in some kind of event. Where it's at page 90 under the Woodlands Division report. This is a group of operators and maintenance techs from the Woodlands and GRP participated in operational challenges at the conference. This marks the first year the team completed all 9 challenges, earning first place recognition in 2 events.
That was the SRA team.
Wow.
Yay.
Cool.
Nice.
Then there's about the water loss is 7%. Is that discussing high water? I think we talked about that a couple of months ago, that there was a month of high water loss. Maybe it was in September. Was that ever uncovered why that was happening?
Not all of it. No, we identified most of it was timing, but there still was quite a bit of water that was not found. We've gone through all the meter information, all the billing information. We've gone through everything. So SRA has done it as well. We've not found that one particular month. All the other months smoothed out on the graph to align just with the timing when they read their meter versus when we read ours. we are going to go forward. One of the things that's not in those charts is the losses from leaks from water, so that, because estuary reports that out. So we're getting refined so that we can, anytime month in, month out that there's a big water line break, and when we estimate the amount of water lost, and we can make sure that that's in that chart that's in estuary's report.
Okay. Okay. I saw that bond thing. Right, any more questions we have on the trustees report? Okay, thank you. And I don't think we need to recess to a closed session, do we? Okay. Okay, then need to discuss any matters for placement on a future agenda for next month in June. Is that when we start voting on some of the budget, or is that in July?
We'll be further discussing the supplemental agreement. Not here yet, and the budget for the river authority will come before trustees for approval in what, August? July, and then we look at ours in August for the districts.
So that's the only thing I could think we could put on the agenda is when we get word of when they'll have some new director training. Yes, Chris Meeks left.
The river authority.
The river
Ours
authority.
will probably be the June 12th date, but then the river authority will have a separate.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anything else? I guess we adjourned at 1:22 PM. There.